Tommy Boyds.
Afternoon. I was wondering this. I don't think reincarnation is going to go away. In fact, I think it could well be the next big boom industry. If anybody can find out how to make money out of it, well, they won't do too badly. Now, reincarnation is definitely the coming thing. And I've uncovered a theory which has been put forward in a publication that comes from Idaho, Psychic and Clairvoyancy Today. Definitely worth your two penneth. Free call 0500 10 53 89, reincarnation. You know, 1/6 of the world's population, according to their religion, just believe in it as a matter of fact, in the same way that Christians believe in heaven, and the same way that atheists believe in nothing. 1/6 of the world population, you know, that's a lot. That's a lot of people who believe that you don't only live twice, which is reincarnation in a nutshell, isn't it? And what's interesting for my family is that when my oldest son was born, the midwife, who'd been with us for nearly 18 hours, and the birth looked imminent, said, I'm going to stay for another hour or so. This will be my 93rd, and I want to see the eyes. And we said, what? And she said, well, all of us midwives know that at the moment, just after birth, most babies, her words, most babies open their eyes and look around, and the expression on their face is very clearly, here I go again. Well, actually, the birth took 42 hours. Poor wife, poor me. So she never got to see it, and the midwife that we ended up with, well, it just wasn't her bag, so she didn't comment one way or the other on it, whether my son was here for the second or third or fourth or fifth, or, as I believe Hindus and followers of the Shinto religion believe, you're here 7 times before eventually your soul is old enough to go elsewhere. But as with most things medical, because it is medical, isn't it? Your soul, it's an organ. As with most things medical, it's going to turn out to be more complex than that, and that forms the basis of this article. The number is free call 0500 10 53 89. It's fascinating. And it's based on this observation, this simple observation, that people who take a long time to be born tend to be more complex than people who are born very quickly. Now, doctors and experts have kicked this idea around for some time now, and they've come up with the idea that if someone takes a long time to be born, the struggle of getting from the womb out into the place where they're going to snip your cord with the scissors is something which is a fundamental character-forming experience, your first independent experience, and it leaves you marked. It leaves you a complex person, prone to different moods, prone to having various factions within your own mind and soul. And it went no farther than that, until the Americans started looking at it. And a great many Americans connected with alternative religions believe that, now this is the interesting bit number one, that you don't just have one soul. Just as when you are born, okay, millions of sperm are sent on the journey, each containing more or less, not exactly, but more or less the same information about the father. So when we shuffle off the mortal coil, a great many miniature versions of our full experience and wisdom burst out of our body, and, well, whatever happens to them, they're not quite clear, but ultimately they go looking for somebody else to be with. They go looking for a child who has just begun its journey from the womb into the world. And this is the nub of the American theory. I mean, this is a lot to take on board in one go. I'll get back to the essential question in just a second. But the American theory is that what possibly happens is that a child is vulnerable to receiving all this energy, if you like, whilst it's passing from the womb into the open air. And the longer it's passing from the womb into the open air, in other words, the longer the birth takes, the longer the child is vulnerable to all the various sparks of energy that are flying around. And so the longer it takes you to be born, the more facets there are going to be to your personality because of the many different influences that your body has received during that passage. Free call 0500 10 53 89. So, we can contribute to the sum of knowledge of this one. I have two boys. One who took a hell of a long time to be born and is one of those multifaceted, extremely complex individuals, a thinker. The other child had the most glorious birth anybody can receive. He was an elected cesarean. My wife was given a wonderful injection. The boy came out without doing anything 25 minutes later. And he is simplicity and happiness itself. There's absolutely no side to him whatsoever. He never has a second thought. He's never complicated with the other view or with different voices. So for me, my own personal experience, in that regard alone, this neat little theory stands up. You've got to remember, if it sounds wacky, it's only 200 or 300 years ago that they discovered that the blood in your body is actually circulating round and round. What that means, I think, is that there's an awful lot more to be found out about what it is to be a human being. Free call 0500 1053 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio.
My name is Anna Rayburn. I work...
This is Talk Radio, the conversation of the nation.
1, 2, 3. See, if you consider yourself a complex person, and I think I am, I've counted 9 of me, and I took a long time to be born. My mum told me nearly 2 days, all right? This idea about reincarnation could explain it. On the other hand, are you a very straightforward person, and yet you took 2 days to come out? Or are you a very complex person, do you think? Are there many of you inside your body, and yet you only took 2 hours to be born? Free call 0500 1053 89. Stuart calls from Brighton. Stuart, good afternoon.
I was a 10-month birth, so to speak, that after 9 months I wasn't released by my mother, and I spent another month in the womb. Now, I'm now 40, and I consider myself to be thoroughly mixed up. My moods are massively high and intensely low. I thoroughly believe in the reincarnation theory to a degree. There are many permutations on that. And I've been interested in all sorts of ranging religions, from the ancient Egyptians 15,000 years ago through to modern Buddhism. And I consider myself that month, that extra, has made me feel a little bit alien to my friends and my family, who, incidentally, I don't have any contact with any longer. So I do feel a bit odd. And you've just hit a nerve.
Do you know, have you asked your mum how long you took to come out from the moment when she began to have, 5-minute contractions?
The labour thing. She's unfortunately now dead, and we lost contact before that to quite a high degree, but I know that it was a difficult birth. In as much that she was a twin with her sister, and she had rheumatoid arthritis, my mother. So for her, it was quite a long, complex process. And this is in the late 50s, of course, so it would have been a long time anyway.
It would be interesting to ask a Hindu or a follower of the Shinto faith. They're the main two religions which believe in reincarnation as a matter of fact. At what point during a child's development in the womb the new soul is supposed to enter the body?
But isn't it that we are looking for a light, and we are guided by a light that we have chosen that will give us the right teachings for the next time round, at least? So I believe perhaps I made that decision, and I came into a weak mother's womb, and the process of that has made me a highly complex character. And I learned from that from day one, and I made that decision.
Thanks for your call, Stuart. Free call 0500 1053 89. Lisa's on the line from Basingstoke.
Hello. What a load of rubbish that guy was just talking.
What do you reckon?
Well, I feel I'm a complex person, along with probably 98% of the population, and but I don't believe in the rest of this theory whatsoever. It doesn't stand water, or whatever the expression would be.
No.
Doesn't hold water. That's the word.
Yes. Why not?
Well, I mean, the way you're born, it's more a physical thing, isn't it, for a start? I mean, second children are apparently much quicker, and, I mean, you're probably going to find, if you were to do a statistical...
Yes, that's true. And there is a thing, there is what they call the royal family syndrome, isn't there?
I don't know about that one.
The royal family syndrome says that the eldest child tends to be a thinker and quite responsible. The second child tends to be something of a rebel. Okay?
Yes.
In other words, people have spotted patterns of behaviour that tend to emanate from whether you were the firstborn and whether you were the secondborn. Now, how many children have you had?
Me, haven't had any.
Okay. Most mums will tell you that your first pregnancy is a little bit more difficult than your second one.
Yes.
Because it's all new to you. And the second birth, you see, your muscles know what to do. Because they've done it before.
Yes, that's true. You're physically set up for it the second time.
Right. But could there be... What could be the reason why, though? It's possible that the second-born is a more straightforward person than the firstborn.
Yes, but there's no way of knowing that because, I mean, it's all to do nature-nurture then to some extent, isn't it, as well? I mean, you can, there's no way of assessing a human being.
Yeah, so you sound like you're somebody who thinks that we actually know everything. All we've got to do is go over what we already know and we'll find the answers to lots of questions, but I don't go with that.
No, I don't believe that. I am open to new ideas and...
So have you got a soul?
Sorry?
Have you got a soul?
A soul. Now, that's interesting. I was thinking that as you were speaking on the radio before. There's no way of proving it, is there? But
no, I'm asking you what you think.
Oh, what I think, if there's a soul. I'm not sure. That's my answer. I don't have a definitive answer on that one. Probably. I'd like to think there is one.
What happens to it when you snuff?
Well, I think that when you die, and there is no afterlife. That's it, I'm afraid.
But there probably might be a soul, but it dies with your body.
Yes, because I should think it's probably part of the
Whereabouts is it in your body?
Well, I mean, you can't prove it, so it's not a physical thing, is it?
But where do you think it is, Pat?
In your brain.
Okay.
Your brain.
All right, in your brain. So point to yourself.
Point to my... which part?
Go on, point to yourself.
You can't.
Well, no, you do. Everybody points to their chest.
Yes, well, yes, I know.
So what does that suggest?
That it's sort of the easiest place that your finger comes around, your arm comes round to.
No, it suggests that that's where the centre of your existence is.
Well...
Doesn't it?
Well, if you want to put that theory to it, yes, you can do.
You're actually, look, for goodness sake, most of our fingers when they're at rest are not near our sternum.
No, but when you ask somebody to point to themselves,
yes.
Where they're not going to bring their hand round...
No, they bring it most determinately, and go on, everybody point to yourself. You bang your finger into your chest. That's where everybody thinks they are. That's me.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And that's not even the middle of your body.
No,
but instinctively. You ask a child of 2.
Yes.
Who wanted this ice cream? And they'll point to their chest and they'll go, me.
Yeah, I bet that's to do with physics. If you were to get somebody on, an expert in sort of, how you're...
the expert's on, it's me.
Yeah, the expert. All right, then with your shoulder and your arm muscles, how your arm perpetuates around, and your most likely thing is just to point to there. I think that's just a coincidence.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. I'm Tommy Boyd. We're talking about reincarnation and a new theory. I'll recap on it if you've just arrived in just a second. This is Talk Radio.
Talk Radio. This is Talk Radio, the nation's interactive station. Recall 0500 1053 89 now.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, this reincarnation thing is not going to go away, even though it's a bit of a new idea over here in the United Kingdom. And more people are getting quite interested in it. And there's this new theory which explains just how it might work, which is that when a child, are setting off on the journey from the womb into the great big outside world, your mother's in labour, that's when the baby undergoes the final stage of its development, because a baby in the womb is an incredible looking thing. It starts off, it's a single cell animal, and then it turns into, I think it looks like a tadpole, a fish. It's got gills. You had gills. You did when you were very small. Then you kind of grow legs and look a bit like a newt. Yeah, a newt. And then all the various other bits, until perhaps what happens is, on the journey from the womb to the great outside world, you become vulnerable to, or you as a person seek to be influenced by the energy that's out there, that's left people who have died. And you could call that the soul, or you could just call it pure energy. But remember, nature wastes nothing. So when you die, some use is made of all of you, including your wisdom, or your soul, call it what you will. So if it's out there, perhaps that's when it enters the little baby. Explains why some midwives say that a lot of children, just as they're born, look around themselves as if to say, I'm here again. And then they close their eyes, and it's as though the strength of their body takes over, and they become whoever they're supposed to be. But they've still got that energy, that recollection, and that soul somewhere inside them. So if a person takes a long time to be born, it's possible they could absorb the energy of lots of different people who have recently died, and that might explain why they're extremely complex, multifaceted individuals. Whereas people who have a straightforward birth, a quick birth, are accepting that energy for a shorter period of time, and then are just that much more straightforward as a result. Now listen, this is one of those great things. You're the expert. You know as much. Whatever you know is as much as anybody else who could pontificate on this one. Stephanie calls from Surrey. Stephanie, you're on Talk Radio. Hello.
Hello, Tommy. Yes, I was in extended breech, and I think I'm a pretty straightforward person. And yes, I was born upside, I think it was bum first instead of feet first.
How long was your mum in labour?
Not terribly long, because they had to induce me to get me going.
Well, I haven't made myself clear. It's not that it was a difficult birth that might make you a multifaceted person.
It's a length of time.
A long birth.
I wasn't necessarily a long birth, no. I was a very difficult birth,
So you were a fairly short birth, and you're a straightforward person.
Probably, yeah.
Well, in that case, then
what would you then say about
you join the body of evidence?
What would you then say? At the moment, a friend of mine is in hospital she's due to having her babies today. She's having identical twins.
Yeah.
And she's having a caesarean. So what would you say for the caesarean? In fact, I'm waiting for the phone
She's having
call.
an elected caesarean.
Mm-hmm.
They'll probably be very straightforward people.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah, because they're due any minute now. I'm still waiting for them to be told.
Get off the phone, woman.
I'm going to. Bye.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. Mike calls from Rugby. Mike, you're on Talk Radio.
Oh, hello, Tommy. I've never spoken to you before. I've always listened with interest to your show. I used to believe in reincarnation until I became a Christian, and then my mind was quite radically changed.
Yes. Somebody told you not to believe in it anymore.
No, nobody told me that. I saw the truth. So I didn't need to believe in it anymore.
How do you see the truth that there is no such thing as reincarnation, unless somebody in the Christian faith told you that, or else you read it in the Bible? How did that truth come to you by some other means?
Well, I heard the truth about Jesus Christ.
Yeah, how did you hear that?
Well, somebody told me.
I see.
How did you hear about reincarnation?
Yeah, somebody told me, but you said nobody told you not to believe in reincarnation anymore.
No, they didn't. They didn't. What I read didn't tell me not to believe it. That was an offshoot of finding the truth.
Yeah, like a lot of things. Yeah.
So I wasn't told not to believe it.
No, they just told you. They just told you that something else was true.
Well, yes.
Oh, fine. So somebody else told you that when you die, your soul goes to heaven if you've been a good person, and that naturally ruled out reincarnation.
That's not what the Bible says. If you're a good person, you go to heaven. It doesn't say that.
Well, whatever it says, we don't need to go round that block, do we? The point I'm making...
But you need to get your facts right if you're going to say those sort of things.
Facts?
Yes, fact, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure. Oh, well, facts as far as you're concerned is fine. Yeah, but let's be clear about this. Somebody else's religion told you that something happens to the soul which is not reincarnation.
Yes.
Fine. And so you believed them?
Yes. After pondering it for a while, yeah, I didn't just sort of accept it blindly.
No. So when does the soul come into your body then, Mike?
At conception.
At conception.
Where was it?
You would say?
Yes.
What do you mean you would say?
Well, that's what I believe to be taught in the scriptures, in the Bible.
Where does it say that anyway?
Well, God breathes when we're born, at conception.
Yeah.
He gives life. Life comes from God, and that's the soul is part of the person.
So but the soul must have been somewhere else prior to the moment of conception. Or was it in the egg?
No.
Or was it in the sperm?
It's the creation of God, isn't it?
I don't know what that means. I'm only asking, if you are somebody if you're a Christian, you can conceive of an entity which is the soul.
Yes, that's right, yes.
But when does it arrive in the body, and where did it come from?
Well, it arrives at conception, and it comes from God.
Yes, but how does it get in there?
Well, God puts it there.
Yes, I know that, but how?
Well, I don't know.
No.
You've got to leave room for mystery, Tommy, else you'd know everything. And you don't, do you?
Well, I know more than you.
Well, no, I accept that. I'm not saying I don't.
I've worked it out for myself.
Well, that's fine. I've worked this out for myself.
No, you haven't. You said earlier on that you were told all of this.
Yeah, but you've been told what you've worked out.
No.
Oh, come on.
Not true.
Tommy.
That's not true. I'm free, and you're a disciple. They're two different things.
But I'm a free disciple.
You're a follower. I'm a leader.
I'm afraid not, Tommy. You do follow some people.
Who?
Come on.
Who?
Well, you always talk about, is it Nietzsche that, or whatever, humanist or something, is he? You've mentioned him on your programme before.
You're a bit vague, aren't you?
You obviously read these people.
Yeah, but reading somebody and reading a book isn't the same as deciding that that's what you're going to believe from now on. I've read every book that I've ever read with a discerning eye, and that's what you should do. That's how I read the Bible.
Well, you didn't come to an understanding of it then, did you?
Well,
Otherwise you would have become a Christian.
God made me that way.
Oh, yeah.
It was his idea. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Jennifer calls from Maidenhead. Jennifer, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tommy. Your reincarnation, I didn't used to believe in it many years ago, and I now, something happened in my life where I really have no choice but to believe it. When I was much younger, I met someone, fell in love very deeply, and we both decided we were soulmates. He then died, and later on I got married and wasn't able to have children. And we applied to adopt a child. We were offered a baby boy, and we went to see him, and I wasn't sure. And anyway, that night I had this dreadful feeling that I really couldn't adopt this baby, although we desperately wanted a baby. So the following day we phoned and said no, or I said no, I didn't feel very comfortable with it, and I couldn't go ahead with it. And 3 weeks later, we got another telephone call saying there was another baby boy available for adoption. And we went to see him, and the minute I set eyes on him, I just knew it was so right. And he was born the night I had this dreadful feeling not to go ahead with the adoption of the other baby. And this boy is now 18 years old, and he is almost the image of the love I lost all those years ago, and I just find it absolutely scary.
Jennifer, thank you for your call. Fascinating story. Beautifully told. Brian is on the line from Birmingham. Brian, you're on Talk Radio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hello, Tommy.
Hello, Brian.
I've learnt one thing after listening to you, Tommy, from the previous book one caller, that when somebody calls you, they must be sure of their facts before they talk to you. Have you ever heard of an Indian guide called Silver Birch, Tommy?
No, I haven't, no.
Well, somebody asked him through a sitting, at what point does the soul enter the body? And he says at the time of conception, because then the soul knows it probably have a vehicle through which it can express itself on earth. And the Hindu teaching is that the soul comes in through the semen of the father.
Well, when was this bloke operating?
Silver Birch. Which bloke?
Silver Birch. When was he up to his tricks?
He's supposed to be an Indian guide on one of the higher planes, and he spoke through a medium called Maurice Barbanel.
Oh, right. When was he up to his tricks?
About 30s, 40s.
I see.
He was the president of the British
Psychic?
Yeah, Psychic Society. That's editor of the Psychic News. You got it, Tommy.
I'll bet he was.
Right, what do you mean?
Yeah.
But through the semen, the Hindu teaching is that the soul comes through the semen of the father into the mother's body.
And that's what you think, is it? Or did you think you...
Well, my question to you, Tommy, is that, how does it get it... From what point does it enter the semen of the father? That's my question.
Yeah, but you are a bit like that last but one caller. Some bloke said that Silver Birch, climbs into his head from time to time, 30 or 40 years ago. And how come that's good enough for you? That wouldn't be good enough for me.
Well, like you, Tom, you have to do it over years of study. If you study for years and years, a picture begins to build in your mind about how things are set up.
Have you got caged birds in the background?
Yeah, I've got 2 budgies.
Have they got souls?
Oh, there's a good question. Do animals have souls?
Isn't it? I used to go out with a girl once. She was nice. Not nuts. Anyway, she told me that she didn't want to go to heaven because she was taught when she was a little girl in Sunday school that animals had no souls and therefore there were no cats in heaven.
Oh, well, that must have had a bad effect on her.
Free call 0500 10 53 89. Pat calls from the Wirral. Pat, you're on Talk Radio.
Hello, Tom.
Pat.
Have you ever heard of the noosphere?
No.
NOO. You've never heard of an author, Teilhard de Chardin?
No.
Well, it's just that he was actually a Jesuit priest.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of paleontology.
Yeah.
And he wasn't very popular with the church because he really believed in evolution.
Right, yeah.
And he sort of visualised the Earth before we were on it, as the biosphere, which was all the trees and the green and the sea.
Yeah.
But then he said after humans started, there was a thinking layer all round the world.
Yeah.
And he called that the noosphere.
Everybody's ringing up with somebody else's ideas. What do you think?
Well, I sort of, because sometimes I think something, and then about 3 months later, maybe somebody on your programme or somebody I meet, and I think, oh, I thought that.
Yes. Thanks for your call. The thing is this, as far as we know, we only get one trip round the block. So, all I say is, keep your eyes and ears open. You might spot something yourself. Now, there's going to be plenty of people, some well-meaning, and some of them panhandlers, who are going to try and tug your sleeve and tell you what's what. Now, if you don't want to do the work, you can follow their line, hook, line and sinker. Fine, no problem. But from time to time, you've got to notice something yourself. You've got to notice the way the cat sits at the window and wonder why. And there ain't going to be a book on it, and there ain't going to be an expert with a view on it. Now, it seems to me that this tiny little idea, which has cropped up in this magazine from Idaho, which suggests that when a person expires, there's a release of energy from that body, which contains the resonance of that person's wisdom, maybe knowledge, and that energy, or bits of it, flies off in every direction, and some of it might end up in a receptive, living thing, which could be a child that's just being born, and that might explain why sometimes some people are born with skills that are totally inexplicable. I have an 8-year-old footballer who pitches up to my Saturday morning football classes, whose ability astonishes him. He doesn't know how he does it. He's phenomenal. I've seen junior footballers who are good in the past. I've played against some who were good in the past, but this little fella astonishes himself. And his dad hates football, and his mum doesn't know what football is. So it's not genetic, you see. Science can't explain it. From somewhere, this boy is a natural-born footballer. But I don't believe science can explain it. So as he was born, or when he was conceived, did his mother inhale, and a piece of the energy of the late Tom Finney that was floating past, find its way into the boy? And does that explain it? That's what we're asking. And what I'm wondering is, what your own observation is on this subject. Although it's quite interesting to hear what you think about what somebody else has to say on it. Not. John calls from North London. John, afternoon.
Hi.
Hi.
I've been following your discussion with some bemusement. How about looking on it on a slightly different angle? The universe has been around for a very, very long time. The Earth's been around for a very long time. We've had dinosaurs, ice ages, all sorts of things have gone on before we've arrived. And we've come along and we've been around for a few thousand years, and we've got developed in our brains, and we're suddenly talking about gods and reincarnation and all sorts of wonderful ideas. But our brains, we only use a small portion of the brain, don't we? The rest of it, science doesn't understand, we don't understand. What goes on in there? Could it be a case that that part of the brain could be used subconsciously, where we could, like your lad with the football, he's got excellent coordination. He's using a different, part of his brain that makes him much more skilled, so he comes across much more skilled because he's much more in control of his limbs as compared to other 8-year-olds.
Do you know much about football?
A fair amount.
Well, it's not just that he's coordinated. He knows where to be. He knows how to close down. He knows how to hold the line. He knows how to lay the ball across the front of their back line for a diagonal run, which he never gets because there aren't any other 8-year-olds who are that sophisticated. You can't teach this, and no brain could work it out for itself.
As far as we know.
I'm certain of that.
As
far as we know, that's a cop-out. Otherwise, because you could all go all the way back to square one. We don't know anything.
Well, we don't yet.
No, but I'm here to tell you that I'd stake my life, okay, that there's some extra influence that enables that. But look, how did Mozart end up being able to do that on the piano at 5?
Very gifted person who's using a part of his brain that has developed a part of his brain that others haven't. Because
the boy with autism who can who can draw like Da Vinci?
Well, we're very wonderful, complex people. We've got an amazing evolution behind us. It doesn't necessarily mean that we've inhaled a bit of somebody else that's gone past us. Because, I mean, if animals we'd be very arrogant if we would say that everything that's happened before us is a nothingness. So, do we inhale bits of dinosaur that float past, or bits of caveman? Does that explain why so many slugs there are about?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. It is. Did you know? Here's a statistic you can take away with you. In fact, you can put this in your pipe and smoke it. Every single time you inhale, you inhale at least one molecule that was exhaled by Napoleon.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly.
No.
But then it'd just be a bit of...
It's the statistical certainty. Now, supposing there's a bit of Napoleon in that molecule, then whilst that's floating around in your body, you might just feel a little bit more of a megalomaniac than you normally do. It's a theory. I've got another theory. Free call 0500 1053 89. Technically, it's reincarnation. I'm Tommy Boyd. This is Talk Radio.
The FA Premier League Hall of Fame. Talk Radio. This is Talk Radio, the conversation of the nation. Free call 0500 1053 89.
Somebody's paying attention. Thank you, Len, for your facts. Of course, Tom Finney hasn't died yet. Although it's interesting that he was born in Belfast, isn't it? On the 6th of November 1952. Oh, you mean the other Tom Finney, don't you, Len? Preston. He was born on the 5th of April 1922 and was capped 76 times for England. But well done, Len. Thank you for that. Mind you, I don't think we've made any great left-wingers since, have we? Free call 0500 1053 89. Lionel calls from Staffordshire. Lionel, you're on Talk Radio.
Oh, good afternoon, Tommy.
Good afternoon, Lionel.
I used to believe in reincarnation, but I had an experience this week. My brother died yesterday, and it's a bit hard to talk about him, but in and out of consciousness, he died of cancer. In and out of consciousness, he said to me that he could see my mother on the other side waiting for him, right? And so what he was fighting to, he was fighting to stay alive. So we sort of said to him, there was something he related to my mother. So we told him to deliver this thing to my mother on the other side to help him go, do you know what I mean? And he was fighting and fighting and fighting after we said that. Sort of he was calm before that, and he was fighting and fighting and fighting after we said that. And all he was doing was waiting for his daughter to arrive. And as soon as she arrived, he went. So, I don't know, but he said, when he was in consciousness, he said he could see his mother on the other side, because she died when we were young. And makes me wonder whether, when someone says that, it makes you think, well, there is something after death,
I'm sure is true, and that's and it's good to have that reinforcement with your own evidence.
I mean,
he just as a final thing,
can I just say, he was a disbeliever. He didn't believe in anything after death, and I would. Can I just say? Can I just make two other points, which I think are very important, which sort of are in the news today. Number one, I think that anything that helps pain in the way of drugs is a good thing. But I also think that we treat our pets better than we treat human beings. I think that we treat... If a pet's ill and not very well, we put it down. And I think human beings are the same. They should be the same. And that's what I feel. Because when you see someone suffer...
Yeah. It's a time in all of our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be morbid about it. I'm trying to be realistic.
Yes. All I wanted to say, just bring the conversation back to where it started, is that those are the world's religions which accept that reincarnation is a fact.
Yeah, I always used to believe in that, actually, because I always felt.
Hang on, that was a comma. those religions in the world which believe in reincarnation as a fact accept that when the soul is away from the body, it is in another place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you could still have reincarnation even though you have gone somewhere else.
It was just that you started by saying that since your brother had seen his mother in another place, and
that's
it's
right.
nice to know he's with her now.
I thought that was an important point, that sort of they'd probably, if there are disbelievers, I think then maybe they should think, well, maybe there is something, because I never used to think that there was something afterwards.
Go easy in your grief. Thanks for your call.
Thanks.
Nice to talk to you. Free call 0500 10 53 89. This is Talk Radio.
Talk Radio. Talk Radio. This is Talk Radio, the conversation of the nation. Free call 0500 10 53 89.
Had a very interesting fax from Shabnam, Mrs. Shabnam. Dear Tommy, I do believe in reincarnation and karma. Karma's very interesting. We'll do karma tomorrow. I also believe that in order to reach a high plane of spirituality, each of us has to go through a lot of suffering in order to grow soul-wise until we reach that state of nirvana, where all worldly deeds and goods mean nothing to us. We'll keep coming back to earth to put it right. Yes, I am a Hindu by birth, but of a universal, free-thinking mind, and I am also an artist. There's an excuse for everyone to go, ah, no wonder, another nut. Free call 0500 10 53 89. Mary calls from Cornwall.
Hello,
Mary, good afternoon.
Hello, Tommy.
Another nut?
No, I've just got a total gut feeling that when you die, everything that you were and everything that you thought about has got to go on. I can't see the sense in it ending. I can't, and this is just a completely gut feeling. It doesn't come from any indoctring of any sort.
No.
I feel very much like the facts that you just read out. And when people have compassion, I think it comes from a past life, something that we have picked up, and that there are some very shallow people, some much deeper people, and it's just an inner knowledge that I don't even question it.
Mary, thank you for your call. Jean is on the line from Torquay. Jean.
Hi, Tommy.
Hi.
First time caller, so I might sound a bit nervous. 2 points, really. Yes, I definitely believe in reincarnation. I've got a 2-year-old grandson whose knowledge of this world is far beyond his years, and his ability is far beyond his years. He's only 2. He's very good with football too, so made you on a football team at some stage in his life. But he comes out with things that he has no experience of. And it isn't until a few moments have passed you think, what did he say? I've been trying to think of examples, but of course I can't.
Well, here's what happened to us once. My eldest once found a cricket bat under the bed. He was only 18 months, and he'd never seen a cricket bat, and he'd never seen cricket before. But he knew a bit about sport. Anyway, we suddenly found him, my wife and I, dragging this cricket bat, which was almost the size of him, across the landing, saying, Daddy, get a ball. Now, how did he know, you see, that this lump of wood was to do with sport?
Yes, well, he's been here before.
I
mean, I had a lady stop me in America when he was 6 months old saying, you've got a very old soul there. And I said, well, how do you know? And she just said, he's so aware, you can see he's sopping everything up like a sponge.
Wait, you just reminded me of something. Andrea, come in for a second. There, that's it. Because Andrea, you will have spoken to on the phone, Jean.
Yes.
Hello?
Andrea,
Yes.
listen to this, Jean. How long ago is it now that I regressed you?
2 months?
Yes.
Back in the summer, yeah.
And what did you do? Who did you discover you used to be before you were the great Andrea, tech-op phone operator?
I think I was an Ethiopian slave or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
No change there in many respects, but anyway, there you are, Jean. What do you think?
I was an Egyptian slave locked up in a pyramid. Just a quick word, Tommy, I don't want to hog the phone, but the quick word about the length of birth having any effect on our personalities.
You've got to be very quick if you would.
I can't believe that's true, because most children these days are born in hospital and they're born to suit the nurses or the doctors, and births aren't births are not left to go on natural terms.
There's a lot of mums screaming blue murder at the moment who'd like to take issue with that notion, Jean, but thank you for your call. Free call 0500 10 53 89.
Keeping an eye on the UK. Talk Radio Eyewitness Travel.
With Welcome Break. Take a welcome break from your journey with the better value break on the motorway.
Don't forget to subscribe and like. Comment too if you wish. Even slap your legs and make a purchase from Ann Summers. But don't do nothing.